when Janton told me the whole purpose of this trip was to take some of his other family members to see where his father had fought there in Normandy, I could not resist. I had to share and hopefully let them experience the same thing that I had experienced in 2016. I also had the great opportunity to meet Thomas Cole. And Thomas is married into Janton's family. He's married to Janton's cousin. And Thomas is a soldier. He was in the Special Forces. He was a paratrooper, and he came with a neat story. The story is about his great aunt, and his great aunt's name is Carol Thomas, and she was actually engaged to a paratrooper, and his name is Sony Hall. And Sony was a private in the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, which is a part of the 101st Airborne Division. And his mission was to jump into Normandy, France on D-Day, June 6th, 1944. As a paratrooper, he was jumping into Normandy, and before he even hit the ground, he was hit with shrapnel from artillery rounds that killed him as he was descending under his parachute, and died before he hit the ground. And it just brings to mind, as we approach Memorial Weekend, the sacrifice that was paid by so many. And you know, I've spoken on many Memorial Days, and one of the things I always say we have to do for those who have paid that ultimate sacrifice is we have to remember them. And for those of you who don't have family that have served, this is a perfect example of how that doesn't matter. You can honor those who have paid that sacrifice simply by a connection to someone else who is somehow connected to a fallen soldier. And now this connection, somehow through Sony Hall to his great aunt, to Thomas Cole, now to the Baranow family, and now to me, is incredible. And I'm thinking, what a great honor it is just to hear his story. But Tom has a plan. He's brought a flag, he's brought the airborne wings that his great aunt has had for these so many years, and we plan to do a memorial service at the American Cemetery when we make our visit. He's a great historian, and he's had the opportunity to go to Toccoa, Georgia, which is where the 506th did their training before they deployed to the war. And while he was there, he met a Frenchman who happened to be a police chief from France, and they struck up a conversation and then developed a friendship, and he maintained that friendship over the internet and via email. And when he heard that Tom was coming to France and was going to visit the cemetery, he said, I'm going to be there. And sure enough, they did. It was about a 4-hour drive. He brought his family, his young children, and a fire chief from Carentan, which was one of the places in France where the Americans had fought, specifically the 506 had fought. And so here we are now at the American Cemetery in Normandy. We've got Janton, we've got Joe Heiberger, myself, Joe, all of Janton's brothers. And now we've got 2 French men whose lives were changed dramatically. And they had such great pride and respect for the American soldier that they wanted to come and honor Sony with us. And it gives me chills just thinking about it. To be there, to be able to honor one of our soldiers who had given their life on D-Day. I had no connection to this man, and yet now I will forever be connected to him. That connection that Tom had with his great aunt led him to a connection with Sony Hall, and led him to have a passion and desire to want to honor him during our trip to Normandy. But more so, he wasn't just honoring Sony Hall, he was honoring his great aunt and the sacrifice really that she had made in the loss of Sony.
My great aunt is dying right now.
Oh.
1 week maybe left.
Oh.
And I got here, and I asked her for a message to give to him, and she already was so bad they couldn't understand. And their daughter says, just tell him that she'll see him soon.
The day that we were standing over Sony's grave and honoring him with a memorial, as we left the cemetery, we went to a restaurant to have lunch. And while we were in the restaurant, Thomas got a text message from his wife, letting him know that his great aunt had passed away. The timing of that is divine timing. And it was one of the greatest honors in my life, and to be able to pay our respects. And when I think about Memorial Day and I think about how important it is for us to remember and to honor the history of what these men and women did for us, did for the people of France, did for the world, I'll never forget it. It was one of those moments in my life that I could not ever top, and one that I will take with me to my grave.